Thomas Sowell. Nice work. Watch it on, we got to see it, rumble.com/Bongino. He's got a crown on because he is the king. He's the king of sanity. Here was Thomas Sowell decades ago warning about the dangers of welfare, government taxpayer payments paid to people to not do anything. Here he was. This is a two-part video. The clips are short. Don't worry. Here's the first part where he talks about how there is not a place in the cosmos on planet Earth, on any other potential planet or any other universe where paying people not to work has led to a more prosperous nation. It doesn't exist anywhere. There are no examples of this. This was him decades ago. Check this out.
There are other people who sincerely believe that if they will hand out things here and there, that this will in fact benefit people. Again, looking at
your point is it doesn't.
It doesn't. I haven't been able to find. I haven't been able to find a single country in the world where the policies that are being advocated for blacks in the United States have lifted any people out of poverty. I've seen many examples around the world of people who began in poverty and ended in affluence. Not one of them has followed any pattern at all like what is being advocated for blacks in the United States. Many groups have remained in poverty for a very long time trying to follow those patterns.
This was him decades ago. The king, the monarch of sanity, Thomas Sowell. There are no examples anywhere on planet Earth of government welfare programs producing generational prosperity. There are none. There are none. There are, however, legions of examples of free market capitalism, entrepreneurialism, and working, going to work. Remember the motto of the Dan Bongino Show from this point forward, given this new president we have who wants to be the next FDR. The new motto is, get your ass to work. We're working, you work. That's the new motto. Yeah, that's harsh. Too bad. I don't care. It's the greatest part in the world. Absolute freedom when you have nothing to lose. Get to speak the truth. And I put myself in this situation purposefully. I never wanted to be influenced by anyone, and I'm not going to be influenced now. Get your ass to work. It is better for you. It is better for us. It is better for your kids. It is better for everyone. There are no examples of countries engaged in mass welfare payments for people not working that have led to any kind of generational prosperity. None. Here's the second part of that Thomas Sowell video. Again, why did I play? There are thousands of Thomas Sowell videos on Thomas Sowell speaking about welfare, which is what we're talking about now. Why did I pick these older ones? Because, folks, the things he talked about decades ago are still true now. Here's the second part of that interview. He's talking about William Buckley. He predicts policies. He says, listen, these three things are keeping minorities, specifically the black community, poor. He mentions three things. I want you to listen to this. Minimum wage, poor schooling, and welfare. This was decades ago. And then I'm going to show you in this segment coming up how we're doing those exact things right now. They just would have listened to the great Thomas Sowell. Check this out.
Well, do I understand you to say that the government has exacerbated the plight of these poor blacks?
Yes.
How?
A number of ways. One, they've made it difficult to get jobs, to get started in the job market. Minimum wage law would be one of those things, but only one. The terrible schooling would be a major factor. That if you're going to turn out kids who are 40% functionally illiterate upon graduation from high school, then you're going to have very serious problems in the job market.
And the government is responsible for that?
The government runs the schools. Yes. State as well as federal. They're doing many things to make it much tougher for the person at the bottom to get started. And they're also making it less necessary to get started by having various subsidy programs, food stamps, welfare, and so on, which reduce the difference between working and not working. So that the general tendency of what they're doing is to make it harder to rise. But of course, if you're lucky enough to have started to rise before these programs began, then you're in great shape.
The king, there he is. We need a little Thomas Sowell crown, a little like Thomas Souls with an apostrophe. If he comes by, we can dump it on. Hey, Mr. Sowell, this is the crown from the show. The king. He just lays it out. You want to create generational poverty? First, let's up the minimum wage so that workers with few skills, very few skills, can't get a job at the entry level and learn those skills. That's what you do. When you make the minimum wage $15 an hour and people don't have the requisite skills to produce $15 an hour in value, what happens, geniuses on the left? Anyone? You don't get hired. You want to create poverty? Tell people with no skills they can't get a job because they can't meet the minimum wage requirement. There is no more destructive employment policy, nationally induced potentially with this new fight for 15, that will cause more poverty among low-skilled workers than raising the minimum wage. Dan, that can't possibly be. You're raising their wage. No, you're not raising their wage. The minimum wage, the real minimum wage, is zero. If you don't have a job because you can't produce $15 an hour in value, your minimum wage is zero. So what's part two? Once you keep low-skilled workers from ever getting a job and keep them poor for the rest of your life, make sure that their schooling really sucks so that they can't produce the educational requirements and skills to get a job that would require education and schooling. How do you do that? With crap public schools. Oh, we produce a lot of, one thing we produce a lot of in the United States is crap public schools. The verdict is in. They're producing a ton of crap public schools. How do they do that? Well, you have educational bureaucracies, liberal lunatics, critical race theory people, and some teachers and teachers unions, some that just don't care. Thankfully, some do. What is step 3 of the generational poverty equation? What is it? Well, Thomas Sowell told us. If you were listening, you paid attention, you already know. Let's make sure we have a generous welfare system. So whether you work or not is irrelevant. You get a job, you'll get paid $20,000, $30,000 a year with your low schools because you're with your low skill set because of the terrible schooling that's been forced upon you. It's not your fault, by the way. You didn't invent the public school system. It's not. Listen, not getting a job is your fault. But the fact that if you grew up in a low-income area in one of America's big cities, you probably went to a crap public school. It's not your fault. It is your fault for accepting it, though. Don't accept it. Don't accept it. You're not doomed to poverty forever. But you are doomed for poverty if you accept the government welfare payments for the rest of your life in lieu of working. You are doomed, and so are your kids.